Alright guys, Carl here from the Stogie Lads, back again with another cigar review. Now this time, it is one that I am extremely excited about, because it's one I've been wanting to try for a very long time, but never gotten around to it. It is a Cohiba Maduro 5 Secretos. Now this is the smallest one out of the Cohiba Maduro 5 portfolio. This is a Petite Corona, sort of a 4-inch, 110 millimeter by 40 ring gauge, so it's quite a small cigar. But what's special about it, and why I've been wanting to try it so much, is the Maduro wrapper. Now, Cuba don't really have a long history of making Maduro wrappers at all. Uh, they've been, growingly, increasingly popular, especially in the US, but around the world too. Heavier, darker cigars and Maduro wrappers really have exploded. And until this line of Maduro 5 by Cohiba, Cuba didn't have a single Maduro cigar on the market. These were started in 2007, so they have been around for almost a decade and a half now, but still, relatively new compared to a lot of the other Maduros on the market. They've expanded, and now Partagas have a line of 3 cigars in the Maduro family, but these were the originals, and these are Cohibas, so obviously they're going to be quite expensive, but you're paying for that quality. Why I'm so excited to try it is that, like I said, I've never had a Cuban Maduro cigar, but, really to make sure that are these worth the price at all, because these are quite expensive like most Cohibas are, and a lot of people have said that basically you're paying for very average Maduro flavor, but you're paying a huge premium just because it's the Cuban Cohiba brand. So no other way to find out than to have a puff, so let us taste the first puffs and see how it is. Quite light on the first puff, silky smooth, very creamy, heavy mouthfeel. One interesting thing is I smelt the wrapper, and it had not even a semblance of a Maduro sort of smell. Oftentimes you get that dark, roasted, toasty sort of coffee, chocolate flavor on the wrapper. This just smelled like a classic Cohiba cigar. It had that grassy, hay, kind of light wrapper smell. First puff, very interesting. The finish is very long. It has a little bit of the toasted, roasted Maduro flavors, but very light. The draw is a little on the tighter side, but just how I like it, actually, with classic Cuban cigars. The smoke is very dense and thick. A little bit of spice. Just a light earth. A little bit of that roasted coffee bean-ish sort of flavor, but not a lot more than that. It's starting out not very flavorful, so we'll see how this progresses. I'll get back to you in the second third, and hopefully more flavor notes to come. All right, so I am in the second third here. A bit of a mixed bag, and I am quite surprised by it. First and foremost, getting it out of the way, the construction, a little bit lacking. Shame on you, Cohiba. Shouldn't be happening for a cigar this price, but it does happen a little too often. The wrapper isn't really wanting to go with the cigar. It was really bad right in the beginning. I thought it was going to start tunneling and messing up really badly, but luckily it got over a hump and now it's better. I had to stab it twice with my perfect draw tool to open up the draw a little bit, because even though the draw was nice in the beginning, it wasn't like open enough for the cigar to burn properly. I had to puff more often than I would like. I don't like to sit here and puff and puff and puff, taking double puffs just to keep it going. But construction issues aside, flavor-wise, it is not even close to what I would expect in a Maduro. I talked to some people before. They said these aren't true Maduros. I sort of understand what they mean now. No, or I shouldn't say no, but very little resemblance of classic Maduro flavors. That toasted, roasted coffee and chocolate that you often get, really not there. There's a sprinkled hint of like cocoa powder, but it's not as dark as I'm used to in Maduros. But what's surprising me the most is it's very grassy, classic Cuba and especially Cohiba, but it's floral, especially on the retrohale, which isn't spicy at all. I should say there's like no spice to this at all. It's very smooth and refined, so it could be approachable for beginners, but I don't think that's what these Maduro cigars should be intended for. retrohale, even more floral. I mean, it's almost like perfumey on the retrohale, which I'm so surprised by. The beginning had a little too much acidity. That has faded now, thankfully. The flavor is decent. It's not really my vibe. I don't know. It's a very strange mix. I've never really had this mix. The finish is quite long. Strength is medium to full. Definitely not a full-bodied Maduro. The body, medium to full. The finish is quite long. Like I said, and this still is the case, a lot of smoke output, dense smoke, coating the mouth, and on the finish is where I'm really getting, hints of Maduro, but it's still just hints, which I'm so surprised by. They do let the leaves ferment it for 5 years, which is hence the Maduro 5 or Maduro 5. But I'm not really getting that classic. I mean, maybe it's the terroir. The Cuban soil or whatever doesn't really allow for those dark roasted Maduro leaves that we expect from like Mexico, San Andres, and all that stuff. But it's very interesting. I'm going to keep going, get to the end, and now only on the finish. So long time since the puff. Now I'm getting darker, almost coffee chocolate, but it's so long after. I'll get back to you in the end. I give my final thoughts, and see you guys then. All right, I'm reaching the end here, and the trend continues that I'm just surprised with this. I'll start by saying this is one of the very few cigars where I've gone from first third, liking it the least, second third, second best, and then the final third is actually the best. Usually the final third, I think they're kind of take it or leave it with a lot of cigars. Sometimes they just get hot and get similar flavor, but this one, a lot of sweetness unlocking now, like dark molasses sweetness, delicious. And yeah, it's gone the same way with my sort of rating. In the beginning, I was going to give it an awful score. Then, second, third, I was like, okay, it's saving itself a little bit now. And now, kind of liking it. But it is a very surprising cigar, and I talked about that in the last update. Burning very well now, which is nice. Cohiba should be burning well. Always disappointed when they don't. But this just seemed like just a thick and oily wrapper. So I wasn't that surprised when I had to correct it all the time. But now it's good. Another thing, the finish was also probably the best part. After a puff, when I sit here and 40 seconds after, a really nice molasses and sort of cocoa and lovely finish comes out. On the palate immediately, it's a little bit still that floral, grassy, not at all what you would expect in a Maduro. Just very surprised with it overall. I did not expect this from a Maduro cigar, but it is Cuba, and it isn't your traditional heavier Maduro. Still medium to full. It never really kicked up to full, not even here in the last part. So I'll put it nice and medium to full. Now I'm getting that finish. Lovely stuff. To give it a score, 87, which is quite low for a Cohiba. My final sort of conclusion in this is this Vitola, the size, and I think it's about $17 or probably even more now. Conversion rates are always changing, but almost close to probably $20 here in Sweden, which is kind of a lot for this size. I did get, let's see, a solid sort of 45 minutes out of it, which is pretty nice for the size. But just with the price and the way the flavors were, not my jam really. It's interesting how sort of bright floral and brighter grass shrouded in like a dark tobacco, Cuban tobacco flavor presented itself. It seems almost paradoxical. I'm surprised with that because I've never experienced that before. Usually, those brighter floral flavors are matched with a lighter sweetness in a lighter cigar, not a heavy one such as this. So yeah, just a very strange one, but like I said, 87, it was pleasant enough. That first third really kind of killed the score for me. This is one that I bought a few to try them out, so I do have more. Probably would go well with the coffee, especially this last part. Hopefully they're better than this one, but I would probably not buy more again in the future. I've heard, though, that the bigger Maduro 5 Vitolas are even better. Not sure if I'd go for those. Maybe I'll try a Partagas Maduro in the future, but this is not too worth it. And I've had a lot of Cohibas, and I'm definitely chalking this down to my least favorite one I've ever had. So yeah, all in all, very interesting experience. I'm glad I've tried this. This is a completely different offering from anything else in Cuba. So yeah, not great for a Cohiba, but an interesting experience nonetheless. Hope you guys enjoyed this video though, and hope to see you guys in the next one. Cheers.